welcome back. I'm Vicky. Today I'm going to be taking this decanter on a steampunk journey. I've had this decanter for years and I think it's time to do something really cool with it. I have some fun steampunk inspiration bottles. I'm going to do some lace decoupage. I'm going to do some foam clay painting. I got a bunch of little embellishments and make something really cool out of it, I hope. I hope you enjoy. The first thing I did was clean it really well. I want to make sure there was no grease, no dust, no fingerprints. And then I let it dry. And the next thing I'm going to do is let some glue sort of roll down the sides to make it look like candle wax. I've had the decanter for a long time. It was from a yard sale somewhere, probably 20 years ago. I don't know. I've had it a long time. I may have even inherited it from somebody. So it's been long enough that I don't remember. And I love it, but I really don't ever use a decanter. It just seems like a waste of well, I have a perfectly good bottle for the liquor or for water or for whatever. So I've just had it around. It sits around and collects dust. And I thought, it would be really cool to make something steampunk out of it. So I'm also going to make some clay embellishments in addition to the metal embellishments I have out of this foam clay. I use the cornstarch just to line the molds, and I have a whole bunch of steampunk molds. I've got a few keyholes, I have some gears, and I'm going to make some tiny little gears and screws or screw tops. I'm just adding 1 drop of white glue at a time and waiting to see how it looks. And also trying to decide, I'm not sure how many dribbles I want. I just got these keyhole molds and I've been dying to try them out. They're really elaborate and they're really gorgeous looking. Along with the keyhole is this really cool fleur-de-lis mold, and I've been excited to try that out too, and I think that's going to add a little pizzazz to this steampunk bottle. So I may not use all of these pieces. I will see once I start painting and gluing them on later, but I figured I'd make a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes so I would have a lot of variety to choose from later. The glue and the clay has dried, so now I'm going to put on the first coat of paint, which is just this white acrylic primer. This little box with these pencils where I can lay the pieces over them and let them dry without them touching anything and sticking to the paper and stuff. With a little bit of extra paint that's left on the brush, I'm just brushing over the clay pieces. They're white, they don't really need the acrylic, but I've noticed that the paint will soak into them. So I'm just going to do a little bit of this to help them stay the color I want them to once I paint them. So I did 2 coats of the acrylic primer, letting them dry pretty thoroughly in between. Next, I'm going to add this yellow ochre from Shuttle Art. I think it will give it a really good sort of background color that looks really old. So that's why I'm starting with this light color. About halfway through, I decided it was way too light and it wasn't going to look good. So I'm going to mix it about half and half with the chocolate color from Shuttle Art. also acrylic paint. So I let that coat of paint dry for about a day, and now I'm going to decoupage on pieces of this lace doily. So I have a ton of lace doilies that my great-grandmother and grandmother and some of my great-aunts made. And they're not in fashion to put out, and I have so many of them. But I thought they would make some really cool bits to decoupage onto this project. And then I can have it sort of as a memento as well as a really cool steampunk bottle. So I cut off a few interesting looking pieces that I thought would look kind of nice on it and that would fit on the bottle properly. I'm just using regular Mod Podge, and I put a coat onto the bottle, and then I'm going to put a coat on top of the lace. I will be painting over top of this some more, but I want to make sure all the little pieces of lace are as attached as I can get so they don't come off later. So next is another coat of paint, and I'm using this grass green from Craft Smart acrylic paint, and I'm mixing it with the chocolate acrylic paint from Shuttle Art. And I'm just going to dab this on as opposed to trying to cover the whole piece, but I want to make sure I get a variegated look so it looks a little bit like it just got really old, but it was originally a really cool green color. So it's going to go on the lace and the bottle. Next, without cleaning my brush, I'm going to dab on some brown onto all of the foam clay bits and pieces. So it has a little bit green in it, that's okay. This is basically just a background color, and I'm going to do more painting later. So you see I'm doing a lot of different layers of paint. Try to give it some patina, try to give it a lot of variety. My next layer is going to be this brighter green, which is just green from Shuttle Art. And I'm going to dab this on pretty sparingly, but I want to make sure that I get a little bit of highlights here and there. Now I like the way the green looks, but I want to add a little more of the darker green to make it even more green. There's one of the colors I'm going to do later is copper. That's going to be like the very top. And this will make it look like it's old copper. So the next color is this aqua green from Shuttle Art. And this day I am not waiting in between coats of paint for it to dry because I'm putting on so little paint. It's drying pretty quickly, and I'm okay if it's smudgy because I'm not trying for any particular new look to it. So I'm just dabbing on bits of paint over top of each other. And this aqua green is really going to give it that old copper look once I get to the copper layer. So I also added a layer of pink acrylic paint. It's not really a color you're going to end up seeing, I think, much in the final product. It's more just going to add a little bit of a highlight here and there. So the next layer is the copper paint. These Rust-Oleum metallic paints, I mean, they're latex paints. They are the best thing that I have found for making metallic accents. You can make things look like metal, which is cool in crafting, but you can also add that little bit of patina that, and so instead of using like a rub and buff or anything like that, you can use these, rag it on a little bit, brush it on, dab it on with that a round brush, and you can get really cool effects. I love these paints. They were a little expensive compared to like craft paints, but you get so much. I've had these for years, and you know, I don't use, they're gonna last forever, and they're awesome. So I'm adding the copper with this big round brush to all of the little gear pieces first. And then I'm going to start brushing it onto the bottle. Now I'm trying to get just barely any color because this paint really will coat it, and I don't want to cover up all the colors that I used before. So you can see that I took off most of the paint onto the paper towel, and what's left on there, it makes it look just like metal. Old metal in this case. So I'll do a little more up close in a bit, but you can see it looks really like a copper bottle that has been aging. And it's not done yet, but I love the way this looks. And even if I stopped here, I think it'd be a pretty cool project. So I looked through all my little embellishments and decided the ones that I wanted to put on for sure. Now I'm going to use some tacky glue, and I'm going to use some hot glue to get these guys on here. I'm also going to use this leather, this white leather. So first I'm going to tacky glue on some of the smallest pieces right onto the bottle. To hang the fleur-de-lis, which is what I'm going to do with them once I get the white leather string on here, is I'm going to make some little jump rings out of this copper wire I have. I think it's 28 gauge. It's pretty thick. So I'm hot gluing the leather onto the top, and then I'm going to wrap it around 2, 3, 4 times just to make it look like there's a little bit of string hanging on it. And I'm going to hang off the embellishments that have jump rings on them so they can be sort of just dangling from the top of the bottle. And I'll be hot gluing as I go around to make sure that the piece of leather doesn't fall down and so that the embellishments stay where I want them to. And after everything's fairly glued in place, I cut the leather and I'm just gonna hot glue it back into the inside of the bottle. And now I just have a few more little pieces to glue onto here and to attach the fleur-de-lis with the little jump rings I made out of copper. brushed a little of the chocolate acrylic paint onto the leather and onto the pieces of hot glue. Then the last step was I took it outside and I coated it with this Rust-Oleum gloss clear sealer. Then I brought it up to the living room and put it amongst some of my other steampunk stuff, and I love it. I think it turned out gorgeous. And I'm going to keep it forever. At least I hope so. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.